Welcome, listeners, to another episode of the Southwest Desert. Today, we're delving into a captivating tale that blends historical fact with tantalizing legend, the story of Emperor Maximilian's lost treasure. Prepare for a journey that will take us from the opulent halls of Mexico City to the rugged terrain of Texas, where a fortune fit for an emperor may still lie hidden beneath the desert sands. Our story begins in the tumultuous 1860s, a time of great change and upheaval in North America. While the United States was embroiled in its Civil War, another drama was unfolding south of the border in Mexico. In 1864, a young Austrian archduke named Maximilian arrived in Mexico City to assume the throne of the newly created Second Mexican Empire. Maximilian was no ordinary ruler. He was a member of the powerful Habsburg dynasty, and his ascension to the Mexican throne was orchestrated by none other than Napoleon III of France. The French emperor had grand designs for Mexico, hoping to establish a European-style monarchy that would serve as a counterweight to the growing influence of the United States. When Maximilian arrived in Mexico, he brought with him all the trappings of European royalty. Visitors to Chapultepec Castle in Mexico City can still marvel at some of the relics of his brief reign: a gold-encrusted carriage, a canopied bed fit for a king, and a smattering of jewels and precious metalwork. But these remnants pale in comparison to the legendary fortune that Maximilian is said to have brought with him from Austria. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman Alan for another Southwest tale. Please leave a like, comment, and share. For further desert adventures, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell to be notified of new videos. If you would like to help support my channel and time, hit the super thanks heart icon on the bottom of the video and contribute. This is very helpful. As with many great treasure tales, the story of Maximilian's lost fortune is a mix of historical fact and imaginative speculation. According to the legend that has persisted for over 150 years, the emperor was not blind to the precarious nature of his position. Mexico was a nation divided, with many citizens fiercely opposed to foreign rule. By 1866, just 2 years into his reign, Maximilian allegedly began to sense that his grand imperial experiment was doomed to failure. It was in this atmosphere of impending doom that our tale takes a dramatic turn. The legend speaks of a secret mission, launched under the cover of darkness from Chapultepec Castle. There were 15 heavily laden ox carts, their contents hidden beneath canvas covers, creaking through the silent streets of Mexico City. At the head of this mysterious caravan rode 4 Austrian noblemen, trusted confidants of the emperor himself. Guarding the procession were 15 Mexican laborers, sworn to secrecy about their cargo and their mission. The caravan's destination was not merely the edge of the empire, but beyond, into the vast and dangerous territory of Texas. At the time, the border between the United States and Mexico was a lawless frontier, a haven for desperate men from both sides. Confederate soldiers, disillusioned with their defeat in the Civil War, were fleeing south. Meanwhile, Mexicans who had allied themselves too closely with the French-backed regime were seeking refuge in the north. It was in this chaotic borderland that the emperor's treasure caravan arrived at Presidio del Norte, a small outpost straddling the Rio Grande. Here, fate would introduce new players into our unfolding drama: 6 former Confederate soldiers from Missouri, hardened by war and seeking their fortunes in the West. The leader of the Austrian contingent, careful to maintain the secrecy of his mission, approached these battle-worn Americans with a proposition. He spun a tale of a valuable shipment of flour bound for San Antonio and offered a handsome reward for their protection on the perilous journey across the Texas plains. Little did the Austrians know that this chance encounter would set in motion a chain of events that would lead to bloodshed, betrayal, and the birth of one of the Southwest's most enduring treasure legends. For several days, The enlarged caravan made its way across the rugged Texas landscape. The ex-Confederates, now serving as scouts and outriders, couldn't help but notice the tight security surrounding the supposedly mundane cargo of flour. Their curiosity piqued, they hatched a plan to uncover the truth. Under cover of night, one of the Missourians managed to slip past the watchful guards and peek beneath the canvas coverings. What he discovered must have taken his breath away. Instead of sacks of flour, the carts were laden with glittering treasure. Gold coins, ornate silver plates, and chests brimming with jewels filled the wagons from end to end. In that moment, standing amid a king's ransom under the star-filled Texas sky, a fateful decision was made. The ex-Confederates, their minds clouded by visions of unimaginable wealth, plotted to seize the treasure for themselves. The caravan had nearly reached the Pecos River when the Missourians chose to strike. They selected a spot known as Castle Gap, about 15 miles east of the Horsehead crossing on the Pecos. Here, amidst the stark beauty of the Texas wilderness, a horrific act of betrayal would unfold. As the weary travelers settled in for the night, the ex-Confederates launched their attack. In a brutal and swift assault, they fell upon the sleeping Austrians and Mexican laborers. When the dust settled, 19 men lay dead, the 4 Austrian noblemen and the 15 peons who had guarded the treasure since leaving Mexico City. But the night's grim work was not yet done. The 6 Missourians, now sole possessors of an emperor's fortune, faced a daunting challenge. How could they possibly transport such an enormous treasure across hostile territory with only 6 men to guard it? After a hurried conference, the conspirators came to a chilling decision. They would bury the bulk of the treasure here at Castle Gap, taking only what they could easily carry. They would then seek help from trusted friends to return and recover the rest of the fortune when conditions were more favorable. And so, under the cold light of the Texas moon, the killers turned grave diggers. They dug a deep pit in the sandy soil, then began the gruesome task of concealing their crime. Into the hole went cartload after cartload of precious metals and jewels. Atop this gleaming hoard, they callously dumped the bodies of their 19 victims. But the Missourians were not content with a simple burial. To further disguise their grisly work, they piled the wooden carts, harnesses, and canvas coverings atop the grave and set the whole mass ablaze. When the flames died down, all that remained was a scorched patch of earth, indistinguishable from countless other campfires that dotted the Texas plains. With their bloody work complete, the 6 men filled their saddlebags with as much gold as they could carry and set off towards San Antonio, leaving behind a king's ransom and 19 silent guardians. But fate, it seems, was not done playing its cruel tricks on those who sought to possess Maximilian's treasure. As the small band of thieves made their way east, one of their number fell ill. Unable to keep up with his companions, he agreed to meet them later in San Antonio when his health improved. This twist of fate would prove to be his salvation and his curse. For when the lone Missourian finally recovered enough to resume his journey, he stumbled upon a horrific scene. The mutilated bodies of his 5 companions lay strewn across the trail, victims of bandits or Native Americans who had killed them for the gold they carried. In a stroke, the sick man had become the sole living person who knew the location of the buried treasure. But his troubles were far from over. Weak and alone, he struggled across the dangerous landscape, evading hostile natives and desperate outlaws. In a final ironic turn, the last guardian of Maximilian's treasure found himself in the company of horse thieves. When a sheriff's posse swooped down on the camp, the Missourian was thrown into jail along with the genuine criminals. It was here, behind bars, that the full weight of his ordeal finally caught up with him. Gravely ill, he called for a doctor and a lawyer. The physician delivered grim news. The Missourian's condition was terminal, with only weeks or months to live. Facing his own mortality, the last survivor of the Castle Gap massacre made a fateful decision. He drew up a rough map showing the location of the buried treasure and entrusted it to the lawyer and doctor who had come to his aid. With this final act, the secret of Maximilian's lost fortune passed into new hands. Years passed before the doctor and lawyer were able to act on the information they had been given. By the time they finally made their way to Castle Gap, the landscape had been transformed. The lake that had once served as a landmark had dried up, and wind-blown sand had reshaped the terrain. Despite their best efforts, the two men were unable to locate any of the reference points mentioned in the ex-Confederate's crude map. They returned home empty-handed, leaving behind them a mystery that persists to this day. And so, dear listeners, we come to the end of our tale, but perhaps not the end of the story. Somewhere out there, in the vastness of the Texas desert, a fortune fit for an emperor may still lie buried. 19 skeletons, the silent victims of greed and betrayal, keep their eternal watch over gold coins, silver plate, and chests of priceless jewels. Is the story of Maximilian's lost treasure merely a legend, a campfire tale spun by imaginative frontiersmen, or does a real fortune await discovery, hidden beneath the shifting sands of Castle Gap? The truth, like the treasure itself, remains elusive. As we close this episode of Southwest Desert, we leave you with a tantalizing question. Could you be the one to solve the mystery of Maximilian's lost treasure? Until next time, keep your ears open and your shovels ready. You never know what secrets history might be waiting to reveal. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman, Alan, for another Southwest tale. Please leave a like, comment, and share. For further desert romps, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell to be notified of new videos. If you would like to help support my channel and time, hit the super thanks heart icon on the bottom of the video and contribute. This is very helpful. Happy trails.